start with the good side. Let's start with the winners. We'll count down from 5 to 1. At number 5 on our collaborative list here is Josh Allen. I mean, obviously the big move is the Bills add Stephon Diggs in a trade. So you pair him now with John Brown. You've got Devin Singletary in the backfield. Josh Allen was a guy that we've kind of been sleeping on the last couple of years, but I feel like that period of time is now over.
Absolutely. I look at that wide receiver room, and I think that it was significantly upgraded. Stephon Diggs was a huge acquisition, and I think that a team in their position trading a first-round pick, don't mind what the Texans were doing because they broke the curve, but giving up a first-round pick for Stephon Diggs, who's one of the best route runners in the game, I think that's perfect for them. And we love Josh Allen because he gave us the 9 rushing touchdowns last season. That could end up going back a little bit. It could get closer to 5, but he had 20 touchdown passes last season. I can see that drifting closer to 30 to make up for that loss in production running the football.
If he can get more accurate with the deep ball, I mean, between John Brown and Stephon Diggs, that passing touchdown.
Don't be mean.
I'm spitting facts here. That's all. I'm speaking the truth. That never could go up quite a bit. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I love him. I think too, and we pretty much know who the top 3 quarterbacks are, the top 4 for sure. But I think in that next level, Josh Allen is going to be one of the hipster picks coming into the 2020 season.
All right, so next up on our list, Baker Mayfield, the guy that we all universally loved last year, and that went pretty much on us. But now they add Austin Hooper from the Atlanta Falcons. They go out in a move that I know you love. They signed Jack Conklin to help what was a poor offensive line. So maybe we were just a year too soon on Baker Mayfield, huh?
Oh yeah, that's no. All the hype I was giving to Baker last year, I meant for this season. Obviously, it wasn't 2019, but I really do love all the moves that they made. Even signing trading for the fullback out of Denver, Andy Janovich, that helps no one all-star, which will help the running game, which will help the offense, which will help protect the quarterback, which was the number one issue. I think that Baker Mayfield still has a lot of skills. Do believe that he can pick apart NFL defenses if you give him time to throw the football. And the great thing about Baker Mayfield is going to be the price. Like, people who were burned by him last year won't want to go back. There was a taco shop I went to a couple of years ago. I ordered a carnitas burrito, and it wasn't cooked fully. And I've never gone back to that place. So I understand that fantasy enthusiasts, they look at their players the same way. And if somebody burns them one season, they go onto a list of like never draft again. I will happily roll in late in fantasy drafts and take Baker Mayfield if need be.
Number 3, this was a kind of a collaborative list, so we may have some slight disagreement here. But I put both DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel kind of as a combo package here at number 3, and mostly because, look, their quarterback situation just got significantly better, right? Last year it was a combination of Kyle Allen and Will Grier. That didn't work out at all. Now it's Teddy Bridgewater, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Teddy Bridgewater is going to be some world beater, but he is better than what they had to work with last year. So as far as I'm concerned, the situation is looking up for the two of those guys.
The situation is better. I wanted to be noted for the record, I am not down with Curtis Samuel. Unless he does really well, then I will come in and point to this video and be like, see, I was in on this. And if he does bad, I'll be like, no, I was protesting. But I'm really excited about DJ Moore. This was a player that we both picked last year to have a little bit of a breakout. And I would say it was kind of a breakout. He became a solid fantasy contributor. So I look for his receptions to go up greatly this year. And last season, we got him in around the 4th round. I'm not so sure we're going to be that lucky again, but I think he's definitely one I'm going to be looking at right there in the 3rd round.
All right. Number 2, and we'll stay in the NFC South. I mean, Chris Godwin, who obviously he was everybody's favorite wide receiver last year, his favorite sleeper wide receiver last year. It had a huge season with Jameis Winston. Now he gets Tom Brady throwing him the football. And look, I went through and kind of was like breaking this down. I broke it down on NFL.com. Brady, we know, loves his slot guys. He's a guy who's fairly conservative throwing the ball. He's not going to throw deep. Chris Godwin was great with yards after the catch. I just don't see how this doesn't get better for him this year with TB12 there.
100%. I feel like I've had I stumped for this one a little bit too, because obviously you look at him, and I know a lot of the dudes in the comments will be like, he's number 2. I know, I understand he was the number 2 receiver last year, but look at the distance between him and Michael Thomas. Like, it's a huge gap between 1 and number 2. And the reason why is Mike Thomas went out, broke the single season record for receptions. I'm not saying that Chris Godwin is going to do that, I believe, though, he's a lock for 100 receptions. If he stays healthy for the entire season, 100, absolutely obtainable. 120, okay, that's a stretch, but still, that would be a 14 additional points right there just on the receptions alone. But I feel like if he gets to around 110, I think that's such a significant bump to him. We're taking a guy who is the wide receiver too and saying that he's going to be even better. And I don't think that it's crazy to think that he could be the first wide receiver off the board. If you want to go Mike Thomas, I'm not going to argue with you, but I love Chris Godwin even more this year, which seems impossible compared to the praise we gave him last season.
You know, it's wild because, you know, as you were talking, I was thinking that, right? But I don't feel like that's a thing people are saying out loud, right? When you're talking about your top three receivers, you're hearing familiar names. I mean, you're hearing Mike Thomas, Nuke Hopkins, Devontae Adams. And, like, I'm not mad at any of those, but I feel like we're not throwing Chris Godwin in there. Maybe we should start talking about him. Like, oh, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't so I can still get that draft discount. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so that brings us to number one on our list of winners here. And it's got to be. It's Kyler Murray, right? I mean, how can you not? Not only do you get arguably the best, most dynamic wide receiver in football in DeAndre Hopkins, you actually add some clarity to your backfield, right? I mean, you had this muddled situation with Kenyon Drake and David Johnson. DJ's now gone to Houston. This offense is going to be incredibly fun to watch. Kyler Murray, the hype train was already like rolling out of control. This thing is going to just careen off the tracks by the time we get to August.
You know, I had Kyler Murray as my number 2 guy. The only reason being is because, as you said, Marcus, he was already going to be probably the third quarterback off the board. Anybody who didn't get in on Lamar Jackson last year was for sure going to be like, I'm not missing out this year. I'm going to go for Kyler Murray. And I love it. And I don't know what the Houston Texans were doing. I don't know if Bill O'Brien was watching the Jags be all, look, we're going to trade all our good players. And he's like, hey, hold my beer. But I love Kyler Murray this year. I think this is huge. I know that a lot of people will draw comparisons to what happened last year with another second-year Oklahoma quarterback who got a superstar wide receiver handed to him. But I think we have more confidence in Cliff Kingsbury than we did have in Freddie Kitchens. And with Larry Fitzgerald and everything, I just love this situation. But I'm not going to overdraft Kyler Murray, and if I have to wait around for Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, and those guys, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not going to get Kyler Murray anywhere this year because you're going to have to reach in like the 4th or 5th round for him, and I don't think I'm prepared to do that just yet. So I don't know.
No.
Our honorable mention here, a guy who didn't quite make our list of top 5, mentioned him, Kenyon Drake. He obviously is a big winner in this situation because he played so well down the stretch for the Cardinals last year. Now he knows for sure he is the guy in the backfield because there's no David Johnson. He's another guy that might end up getting overdrafted just because I feel like Cardinals in general may get overdrafted because everybody's going to be so excited about this team.
Absolutely. Make sure you pay attention because the ADPs on a lot of sites have not caught up yet. Because in some of them, he's 7th round, he's 6th round. I'm like, yeah, okay. I would love for Kenyon Drake goes in the 6th round. But last year, if I can talk a little bit of strategy, and this is where it always hurts me because I always end up losing out on these players, is I loved going Travis Kelce, top flight wide receiver with my first 2 picks, trying to get that 3rd round running back, which last year it was, I think Kerryon Johnson was one of them. Chris Carson was one of them. I can't think of the guy who was, Aaron Jones. That strategy for me worked out really well until injuries at the end of the year and things like that. This season, I'm hoping that Kenyon Drake can be that player. I'm not sure he's going to last that long, but ideally, if he could somehow go in the 3rd round, if we could just make that happen, I would be very comfortable with that.
All right, because we are Debbie Downers, we're going to finish this up with the top 5 losers here. Number 5 on our list, Austin Hooper, who was in a good situation in Atlanta, was like the tight end 1, I think, for the first month or so of the season. He got hurt, kind of fell off a little bit. Now he goes to Cleveland, where there are a lot of mouths to feed between OBJ, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku still there, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. I can't see him getting anywhere near the number of targets he saw last year in Atlanta.
You know, that is one of the things when he first went there, I started to talk myself into Austin Hooper. I'm like, well, he had 75 receptions in 13 games with Julio and Calvin Ridley. So perhaps, but then as you start analyzing it a little bit more and you look at what Kyle Rudolph's production was like, there are going to be opportunities for Austin Hooper to have good games, but we're not going to get the consistency from him that we did last year for the reasons that you said. And in addition to those numbers he put up in Atlanta, I believe Cleveland's going to run the ball a little bit more and really try, especially once they traded for Andy Yanovich, whose name I'm probably butchering, but I'm giving it a shot. I'm just going to say it with confidence. I really do believe that they're going to run the ball a little bit more, which will probably put him down to the 40 to 50 reception category, which definitely puts him out of the range that he was in last year, just outside of the top three, the big three guys.
Which sucks because we want more tight ends, not fewer.
I know.
Like, we need more productive tight ends. All right, this is the part where the video is probably going to go off the rails a little bit, and so I'm just warning all of you viewers out there, I apologize in advance. Our number 4 loser here, it's Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, Nick Foles is in town there in Chicago. Things seem bad for Mitch. It just seems like he is at the end of his rope there, and if he does not come out and perform, that Matt Nagy's gonna yank him, and he's gonna come with Nick Foles to try to save the day in Chicago.
Oh my God! Why do we have to mention poor Mitch? Were you drafting him? Were you drafting Mitch Trubisky? Like, he went from 25th on your draft board to 29th. Oh, what's the big deal? But I do believe when you look at this Bears offense, though, Nick Foles comes in there and pushes Mitch Trubisky, and Foles never gets off the bench, and it's a wasted draft pick, and it's a wasted amount of money. That's good. But if Nick Foles goes in there and runs that offense, and I do believe that he could come in there and guide this team. The last time he was with all these coaches, he won a Super Bowl. So I think either way, it's looking pretty good. I think that the Bears, it's puzzling because the Jimmy Graham thing seems terrible. But it's kind of like where I want to be as a Bears fan, because I don't want to be in the position of being the off-season winners, of being the Browns of last season, and then going in with those expectations and having it not work out. Whereas on the other hand, everybody can be pooping on the Bears and every move that they made, and then they win 12 games and win the division, and I'll happily take that. But yes, Mitch Trubisky is not going to be a fantasy football superstar. Probably not. And if he is, I'll gladly say I was wrong.
Number 3 on our list is Julian Edelman. Now, I put that with the caveat that, like, if Cam Newton signs with the Patriots before, like, this video comes out, that completely changes this whole thing. But, you know, Edelman prospered with Tom Brady there, just peppering him with like 120 targets a year. But I don't know that I feel excited about either Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer making such hay with Julian Edelman this year.
But if you're Jarrett Stidham and you're the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots, where are you throwing the football?
I mean, probably to Julian Edelman.
You're going to Julian Edelman. I don't know. The guy could end up could end up doing pretty well. But I do believe that obviously Tom Brady hurts his value. He still has name recognition. So when you're doing leagues with people who might not be as sophisticated when it comes to the draft, you might not get the value. But based on the fact that they could end up being not as good, they could be in more situations where they have to throw the football, trailing more than ever before. Perhaps it works out in his benefit. But I think on the surface value of losing the quarterback that you've only known, but I think that it does hurt him a little bit.
Number 2 on our list of misery here is Philip Lindsay, who was the running back of record there in Denver. Now he takes a backseat to Melvin Gordon. So things are bad for him. Things are even worse for Royce Freeman, who becomes persona non grata there in Denver. But for Philip Lindsay, this takes a huge bite out of his production, having Melvin Gordon there in the Rockies.
Yeah, this is terrible. Like, as a football fan, I love seeing Melvin Gordon going to Denver because I want to see 2 spike games where he's like, yeah, this is cool. And he's got familiarity and everything. It's an interesting signing to me. I'm of the mind that Fangio is going to end up running Melvin Gordon nonstop. I really do believe with the contract that they gave him and bringing him in that perhaps he saw something in Philip Lindsay that he was just not impressed with, and he's going to bring in Melvin Gordon. And I still believe that Melvin Gordon can go. I do believe that the Broncos are going to use him a lot, and I think that Melvin Gordon could end up being a sneaky draft pick this year just because people are going to be avoiding it, but it's definitely not good for Philip Lindsay.
All right, our biggest loser, not to be confused with the former network show of the same name, but it's got to be Deshaun Watson, right? I mean,
right.
Like, he loses arguably the most dynamic wide receiver in the league with DeAndre Hopkins going to Arizona. He gets back in return a running back in David Johnson, who once upon a time was great, but now we're not sure if he's just broken down and completely washed. The pass catchers he has remaining there, Will Fuller, Kenny Stills, Kiki QT, a group of guys who can't stay healthy. And he's already sending out basically like despair tweets during this quarantine. like it's just bad if you're Deshaun Watson right now.
There's so many things to unpack here because, like, I think number one, Will Fuller is going to have like 20 touchdowns in the 6 games he plays this season. I mean, that's huge. Anytime he's actually on the field, you're going to want him. But you look at this situation, I don't understand any of it. For instance, trading like David Johnson, you could have signed Melvin Gordon for free. You could have signed Todd Gurley for free. Devonta Freeman, as of the recording of this video, is still available out there. I would take any one of those players over David. I might just take him over David Johnson just based on the film from 2019 because it feels like once Bill O'Brien watches that 2019 film, he's going to be pissed. Like, oh, what happened to this guy? This is bad out there running. But you look at it, so many things, I believe, were covered up by DeAndre Hopkins' greatness. The lack of ability on the offensive line for the Texans, Deshaun Watson sometimes making some terrible decisions and DeAndre Hopkins bailing him out. There's nobody there that can do that. And so now Deshaun Watson, to me, was somebody who I was probably going to draft after Kyler Murray, after Russell Wilson are right there. Now he's on my do not draft list. Like, I don't care if they're trailing every game and he's going to have to throw. I think that I would say that Jameis Winston's 30-30 record could be up for grabs. I just don't think that he's going to have 30 touchdowns. So I don't know. I'm going to actually have to avoid him this year.
All right, so there you have it. Those are your fantasy winners and losers from the early part of the free agency period. I feel like we've done our due diligence, Rank, and now we can go and have an adult beverage and just knock off for the rest of the day.
That's the most responsible thing to do because it's almost noon. And yeah, it sounds like fun.
All right. Hey, so we appreciate you guys listening and watching and, all that stuff. Be sure to follow us if you haven't already on all our social handles at NFL Fantasy on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I don't know. I think we're doing Twitch too, maybe once upon a time. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I don't know.
Like and subscribe to this YouTube channel.
All of that stuff. Please, please, please do. And stay tuned because we'll have plenty more coming up in the very near future. All right. That's it. We're done. Adios. See ya.